So here's a clear overview of the UK's Online Safety Act of 2023. So it was enacted into law October 26, 2023, with full implementation beginning July 25th, 2025. It establishes a statutory duty of care for online platforms like social media, forums, messaging, search, and etc. to address illegal content and legal but harmful content that children may access. How vague is that? Empowers Ofcom. Ofcom? I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm not actually from England, okay? Ofcom. They are the UK communications regulator, and this would allow them to enforce compliance through codes of practice and being able to impose fines of up to £18 million, yeah? Or 10% of global turnover of whatever non-compliant services decide to rebel. Key responsibilities. Platforms must prevent access by minors to harmful or inappropriate content. That does sound good, right? Sounds meritable. Introduce robust user reporting and content moderation systems. Preserve access to journalistic and democratically important content like political speech or user comments on public issues. Include new criminal offenses, cyber flashing, encouraging self-harm, epilepsy, trolling, threats of harm, etc. It includes an expanded duty to enforce age verification. Now, how do you think they're going to go about that? How can you verify someone's age? With robust methods such as AI-based facial recognition, ID checks, or payment checks by July 25th, 2025. Basically, they want your biometric data to be able to verify who you are and ensure it is safe for you to consume certain types of content. Now, I can understand the concern about children watching porn. I can understand the concern with, the gore videos, for example, that go around on Twitter or sometimes Instagram. I've had the thing on Instagram where Reels had this, I don't know, it was like a couple of days where it was just gore videos. For 2 straight days, I just got gore videos on my Instagram, and that was super weird. I didn't like that at all. So I can understand wanting to restrict access of certain types of content to children that might be harmful to them. I understand that. But the consequences of how they're going to go about doing this, it's tracking your biometric data. Major concerns and criticisms. Encrypted messaging services like WhatsApp, Signal, worry that mandated scanning for child sexual abuse material would undermine end-to-end encryption, which is absolutely true. Again, I mean, it's a huge problem, but the removal of privacy is also another problem that comes with solving this problem. Experts argue that such scanning systems would require surveillance infrastructure beyond intended scope, raising mass surveillance concerns. The law's scope includes content causing indirect or psychological harm to users of ordinary sensibilities, a vague standard that could cover broad legal expressions, sometimes described as censors charter. Civil society groups like Article 19 and the Open Rights Group have rejected the law as overly harsh and inconsistent with international free speech norms. The mandated age check systems, face scans, ID uploads raise serious data protection and privacy issues. There is no required standard for minimizing data collection beyond the UK GDPR. Smaller and niche websites have already blocked UK access, citing high compliance costs and invasive verification demands, even for fictional or artistic adult content. One site attracted over 65,000 signatures on a petition against the act. There's going to be a lot more of these petitions, I'll tell you that. Critics also warn that users, especially youth, may exploit VPNs to bypass restrictions, pushing them toward unregulated or unsafe platforms. Yeah, you could still use a VPN. What is this really going to do? I mean, if you shut it down there, you're going to have to shut it down everywhere. Everybody has access to a VPN, right? Everybody can get one. So Ofcom can be directed by the Secretary of State to modify codes of practice for public policy or security reasons, raising concerns that the law grants political interference in speech regulation. So that's the rundown of this, and here's the actual law right here. You can check it out at legislation.gov.uk. Here's the US version. It's called the Kids Online Safety Act. Okay, so Reform UK, which is I just learned is the right wing of the UK. vows to repeal borderline dystopian Online Safety Act. Faraj and Yusuf said a reform government would immediately repeal the Online Safety Act and seek other ways to replicate its efforts in protecting children from harmful content, for example, about suicide. They said that they did not know how this would be done. Yeah, it's a complicated issue. So much of the act is a massive overreach and plunges this country into a borderline dystopian state. I agree with that. Powers given to the media regulator, OFCOM, to levy fines for harmful content would force social media companies to censor anti-government speech, which is a huge concern, right? Whatever they call misinformation, malinformation, propaganda, right? Which, in all honesty, it should be available. Like, people should be able to post whatever the hell they want. You know, the freedom to debate and have discussion and you know, even if misinformation gets out and confuses people, it's better to have free speech than to censor everything because of the concern of who's censoring it, right? That age-old adage of who wins the wars writes the history books. And that can be extrapolated to who owns the media companies and who controls the legislation around, you know, censorship and controlling the internet, controls the narratives that are being pushed, controls what is considered misinformation, even if it's not. Yusuf claims saying even X, which is run by Elon Musk, would be forced to curb freedom of speech. Yeah, any student of history will know that the way countries slip into this sort of authoritarian regime is through legislation that cloaks tyranny inside the warm fuzz of safety and security and hopes nobody will read the small print. I could not have said that better myself. So the reason I'm making this video is because I saw this pop up on my recommended, and it reminded me about this law and the fact that I was going to make a video about it. I was going to talk about it, especially the fact that America wants to pass a similar law. It's by Penguin Zero, Charlie, as most people know him as, and I think the way he explained this is absolutely brilliant. So we're going to watch this.
If I asked you to give me your ID to watch this video, provide some form of identification, what would you tell me? I hope your answer would be a resounding no, telling me to go eat dirt. Because that's not just like some kind of innocent, annoying question. That's legitimately just an assault on your freedom. It's an extremely scary and concerning direction the online space is heading. No longer is this just the wacky, wild west of the World Wide Web, where Timmy Turner once surfed on an email in Fairly Odd Parents. Now, it is actively being censored. We're seeing that happen a lot. Censorship is spiraling, especially in video games. It's absurd, and it's something everyone could have seen coming. Anyone with a functioning frontal lobe could tell you that censorship is not something to be celebrated. When you try and target low-hanging fruit, something easy like gross, disgusting porn games that are all about like incest and shit, you'll get a lot of clapping seals like, yippee, you saved us. But what they don't realize is that it doesn't stop there. That is just the beginning. That just opens the door, so that way they can censor even more. It is absurd and out of control, but I'm going off on a tangent. The point is, the internet is under attack in a large way, across the board, not just in gaming. I'm sure all of you have seen what's happening in the UK right now with their Online Safety Act, where now to access a myriad of content, you need to provide your identification. That's not acceptable. Just like we were all taught growing up, never take candy from a stranger, don't talk to strangers, say no to that kind of shit, you should also be taught to say no to this too. You should not be providing your ID willy-nilly online. That is not something that should just be loosey-goosey, no care in the world. Oh, here's all my personal identification. Here, yeah, take it. That way I can access fucking Wikipedia. By the way, Wikipedia is actually affected by this. Now, in some cases, it's not providing an ID, it's instead providing your face. Crazy. It will scan your face, so you're giving them your biometric data in that case. Again, big time no-no. I shouldn't be the one to come in here and teach you why privacy is important, but I hope somebody has. This is not a good thing. So in some of these processes, it's not always required to give your full ID and your fucking, credit card statements or anything. Instead, some may ask to scan your face and everything. Also still frowned upon. You still shouldn't do that either. This bill was paraded around like it was some righteous, legislation. I'm sure a lot of you, if you've got your thinking caps on, if you're activating neurons, can probably recognize a pattern since basically the beginning of time, the beginning of the internet here, where porn is always used as this ultimate boogeyman. It's the Galactus level threat that they always have to pass legislation to combat. And to people that don't want to do any thinking and would rather have all their thoughts put into their head by the government on what they should and should not support, it sounds like a nice notion. You don't want kids having access to harmful content like porn online. That makes sense. But the second you make like George and get a bit curious and, God forbid, get into your ponder stance and start thinking and look into these type of pushes, you will recognize the goal is not to protect kids. It's not to protect anyone from anything. These are called Trojan horses.
But yeah, I mean, that's the Online Safety Act. Something that seems virtuous, something that seems like it's helping people and would help protect children is actually a Trojan horse for surveillance. And people are concerned for good reason. With that being said, that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and let me know what you guys think about this, because it's scary. It's scary to me. Have a wonderful day, and take care of yourselves.